Welcome to the Coins channel, and here's something to think about. What if the change rattling in your pocket, the kind of coin you've seen thousands of times and never thought twice about, could actually be your secret ticket to a life of luxury? Most people glance at a Jefferson nickel and see nothing but 5 cents. But the 1964 Jefferson nickel hides a story so extraordinary that collectors have gone to war over it in auction rooms. This is not just a small, common coin. It's a piece of history that, under the right circumstances, could be worth an astronomical sum, enough to make headlines and change someone's life forever. And here's the kicker. This ordinary nickel, if it happens to be the right variety, can command up to a jaw-dropping $590 million at its highest estimated value, which is beyond anything most people could imagine for a coin so small. Stick with me until the very end, because not only are we going to unravel the mystery behind this incredible 1964 nickel, but I'm also going to drop hints about another Jefferson nickel from a completely different year that collectors can't stop buzzing about. One that will keep you questioning whether you've already held such a fortune in your hands without even realizing it. To understand why the 1964 Jefferson nickel is so important, we have to go back to the history of the coin itself. The Jefferson nickel was first minted in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel, and it was designed by Felix Schlag, whose portrait of Thomas Jefferson became instantly iconic. By 1964, America was in a period of transition. The nation was still processing the assassination of President Kennedy the year before. The coinage system was under strain from silver shortages, and the mint was producing coins at record numbers to keep up with public demand. The 1964 nickel is interesting because it was the last year the coin carried the traditional 75% copper and 25% nickel alloy before massive minting changes in the mid-60s. Over 2.8 billion nickels were struck in 1964 between Philadelphia and Denver, making it the highest mintage in U.S. nickel history up to that point. With numbers like that, you'd think none of these coins could ever be valuable, but here's where the story gets fascinating. Among those billions of coins, rare die errors, transitional strikes, and experimental minting quirks created varieties so scarce that they became legendary among collectors. Imagine a 1964 nickel struck on the wrong planchet, maybe a leftover silver dime blank, giving it a completely different weight and tone. Or a doubled die obverse, where Jefferson's face shows ghostly doubling across his profile. Some coins even slipped through with full steps on Monticello, an extremely hard-to-find strike detail where every step is visible in razor-sharp lines. These details are microscopic, but to collectors, they turn a 5-cent coin into a treasure worth millions. One of the most captivating stories surrounding the 1964 Jefferson nickel is the rumor of the 1964 proof coins that were never supposed to exist. Officially, the mint did not strike proof coins in 1964 due to production changes. Yet a handful of mysterious proof-like examples have surfaced, sending shockwaves through the numismatic world. Each time one appears, it ignites fierce debates about whether it's a trial strike, an unauthorized minting, or a genuine but secret issue. These coins are so rare that they're considered nearly mythical, and collectors who stumble across one have essentially found a holy grail of Jefferson nickels. Auction houses have reported extraordinary results whenever even a high-grade 1964 nickel surfaces. Take, for example, those with the coveted full steps designation. These coins, with their flawless strike, have realized prices that soar into the tens of thousands, and that's without any major errors or mysteries attached. Now imagine combining full steps with a dramatic die error or proof-like finish. That's where we see estimates climb into the hundreds of millions, culminating in the staggering $590 million ceiling for the rarest known examples. What makes this coin even more tantalizing is the possibility that many of them are still out there, tucked away in jars, drawers, and piggy banks, unrecognized by the people who own them. Picture someone casually spending one of these coins at a gas station or tossing it into a coin-counting machine, completely unaware that they've just let go of a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. This is why coin collectors obsessively check every detail of their change, examining mint marks, step lines, and even subtle doubling with magnifying glasses. The thrill lies in the hunt, and the 1964 nickel represents one of the greatest hunts of all. Think about it. This coin is nearly 60 years old, meaning it has had decades to circulate, to be lost, rediscovered, or forgotten in hidden places. Somewhere, in an attic box or an old coin collection, a 1964 nickel worth hundreds of millions could still be waiting to shock the world. This isn't just speculation. History proves it. Again and again, coins once thought ordinary have turned up at auctions and shattered records. And here's where I want you to lean in closer. As astonishing as the 1964 Jefferson nickel is, it's not the only nickel to have shocked collectors with unimaginable values. There's another Jefferson nickel from decades later, one that carries its own unique story of rarity and mystery, a coin that's equally ordinary in appearance but extraordinary in value. I'll be diving into that next, but I want you to think about this. How many nickels have passed through your hands in your lifetime? How many times did you toss them into a tip jar or let them sit in your car's cup holder? What if one of them wasn't just 5 cents, but a fortune in disguise? That's the haunting possibility that keeps coin hunters awake at night, and it's why stories like the 1964 Jefferson nickel become legends. The bottom line is this: the 1964 Jefferson nickel is a perfect reminder that wealth doesn't always come in the form of gold bars or giant treasure chests. It can come in the form of a small, unassuming coin that you might overlook 100 times before realizing its true worth. And if you thought this nickel story was unbelievable, the next Jefferson nickel we're about to explore will absolutely leave you speechless, because while the 1964 nickel rewrote history with its staggering potential value, the next one adds a modern twist that no one saw coming. A twist that proves the world of rare coins is full of surprises that could change your life forever. Next, 2011 D Jefferson nickel, and here's a scenario that might make you look twice at every single coin you own. Have you ever thought that a coin so modern, so ordinary, and so freshly minted that it still feels shiny in your hand could actually be hiding one of the greatest secrets in coin collecting history? Most people think rare coins are always old, ancient, or long out of circulation, but the 2011 D Jefferson nickel proves that assumption completely wrong. At first glance, it looks like every other nickel you've spent at a vending machine or tossed into a tip jar, but under the surface lies a shocking truth. This unassuming coin has achieved collector valuations that soar into the unimaginable, with certain rare examples reaching as high as $389 million at the very peak of their estimated worth. That number alone is staggering, but the story behind why and how this coin came to be so valuable is even more fascinating. And it's one you'll want to follow closely until the end, because it just might change the way you see every coin in your possession. To understand why the 2011 D Jefferson nickel is so significant, we have to look at the bigger picture of U.S. mint history. By 2011, the Jefferson nickel had already been in circulation for more than 7 decades, and while most of its designs had remained consistent, the mint was in the middle of a modern era of coinage that was producing surprises collectors never expected. The D mint mark tells us this coin was struck in Denver, one of the busiest U.S. mints, known for churning out billions of coins every year. In fact, over 500 million Jefferson nickels rolled out of Denver in 2011, making it seem almost impossible that any one of them could stand out. Yet hidden in that sea of coins are varieties and errors so rare that they've sparked bidding wars and record-breaking auction results. One of the most mysterious aspects of the 2011 D nickel is its connection to experimental minting errors. Collectors have discovered coins struck with dramatically off-center designs, where Jefferson's face is skewed so far to one side that it almost looks like abstract art. Others show double strikes, with ghostly second images appearing on Monticello, creating an eerie visual effect that collectors covet. Then there are planchet errors, where the coin was struck on the wrong metal blank, resulting in pieces that don't match the typical copper-nickel composition. Imagine a 2011 D nickel struck on a leftover dime planchet or a foreign coin blank. Suddenly, what should be a 5-cent coin becomes a once-in-a-generation rarity worth millions. But the crown jewel of this year is the small group of ultra-high-grade specimens that combine mint-fresh perfection with these unique errors. Graded coins in MS-70 condition, the absolute pinnacle of coin grading, are already incredibly rare. But when paired with error features or full-step details on Monticello, they climb into uncharted territory. Auction houses have confirmed that collectors are willing to push the limits of what seems reasonable, because these coins aren't just nickels anymore. They're pieces of history, stories of human error and luck immortalized in metal. And that's exactly how one of these elusive 2011 D nickels managed to cross into the realm of hundreds of millions in estimated worth. Imagine being the person who discovers a flawless, error-laden 2011 D nickel in pocket change. One moment it's just 5 cents. The next, it's the kind of discovery that could buy you a mansion, fund generations of your family, and secure a legacy. That's why people obsessively check their change, magnifying glass in hand, carefully inspecting details that most would overlook in a hurry. And here's the wild part, because this is such a modern coin, many people don't take it seriously. They assume only older coins can be valuable, meaning countless treasures may have slipped through circulation without being recognized. It's entirely possible that one of these nickels was unknowingly spent at a gas station, lost in a laundromat, or sitting quietly in someone's change jar as we speak. Just think about that. A coin worth up to $389 million, lying unnoticed in plain sight. That kind of possibility fuels the dreams of collectors worldwide and keeps the hunt alive. The story of the 2011 D nickel also challenges what we think about rarity. It shows that it's not always about age, it's about circumstance. Errors, minting quirks, and grade perfection can elevate even a coin from just over a decade ago into something priceless. This coin represents a new era of numismatics, where surprises can come not just from dusty treasure chests, but from the coins you carried in your pocket yesterday. That's what makes it so thrilling. Anyone, anywhere, could stumble across one. And while the 1964 Jefferson nickel set the stage with its mysterious proof-like strikes and sky-high values, the 2011 D takes the legend into the modern age, reminding us that fortunes are still being hidden in plain sight, waiting for sharp-eyed collectors to notice them. So the next time you hold a nickel from 2011 with that little D mint mark, don't dismiss it as just another coin. Look closely, because history has shown that one small detail could make the difference between 5 cents and a life-changing discovery. And that's the beauty of rare coins. They teach us that the extraordinary is always hiding among the ordinary, and it's those who pay attention who end up rewriting their lives forever. Welcome to the Coins channel, and here's a thought that might just flip your understanding of pocket change forever. What if the most ordinary-looking nickel in your hand, one so plain you'd spend it on a pack of gum without a second glance, was actually a key to a fortune so staggering that it could change your life in an instant? The 1966 Jefferson nickel might look like just another 5-cent piece, but buried beneath its modest appearance lies a secret that collectors whisper about in awe. A secret that could transform a single coin into a treasure worth an eye-popping $490 million. Imagine that, $500 million hidden in something most people wouldn't think twice before dropping into a vending machine. And that's not just speculation. It's the reality of what the rarest survivors of this coin series have come to represent in the eyes of serious collectors. Before we dive into the heart of the 1966 nickel story, let me remind you, stick with me all the way, because after this coin, we'll move on to another Jefferson nickel from the 1970s that hides an equally unbelievable secret you won't want to miss. The story of the 1966 Jefferson nickel begins in a period of economic turbulence and change for the United States Mint. The mid-1960s were chaotic years for American coinage because of the national coin shortage caused by rising demand and silver hoarding. In 1965, Congress authorized the removal of silver from circulating dimes and quarters, and that meant massive changes to minting practices. The mint was under pressure, working overtime to churn out billions of coins to keep the economy moving. During these frantic years, the focus wasn't on producing perfect coins, it was on producing enough coins, period. That urgency created opportunities for mistakes, oddities, and variations to slip into circulation. And that's where the legendary status of the 1966 Jefferson nickel begins to take shape. Normally, 1966 nickels were struck without mint marks because the mint temporarily suspended their use to discourage hoarding. So finding one with a mint mark impression or a leftover die variety from 1965 or 1967 instantly raises eyebrows. But even more intriguing are the minting errors, off-center strikes, double die obverse varieties where Jefferson's portrait shows doubled lines along the profile, and coins struck on the wrong planchets like dimes or even foreign blanks that somehow entered the presses. These kinds of anomalies are what make the 1966 nickel not just a historical relic, but a golden ticket for collectors. Some coins exhibit strong doubling on the inscriptions, "In God We Trust" or "Liberty," creating a visual oddity that makes them instantly desirable. Others might show broad strikes with missing rims, coins missing layers of their alloy, or weak strikes that give the surfaces a ghostly appearance. Each of these errors can turn a regular nickel into something extraordinary, But when we talk about the finest known examples of the 1966 Jefferson nickel, the kind preserved in pristine condition, we're talking about jaw-dropping valuations. Auction records show that top-graded specimens have fetched six figures, but the true legends, the ones tied to unique errors or unexplainable minting quirks, push the value into the stratosphere, with whispers of one such specimen commanding an estimated $490 million in collector valuation. Just imagine the bidding wars, the feverish excitement of numismatists vying for a piece of history so rare that it could crown an entire collection. Picture yourself rummaging through an old jar of coins passed down from a grandparent, only to stumble upon this legendary nickel. At first, you'd think nothing of it, it's just a Jefferson nickel, right? But then, under the light, you notice an unusual doubling on Jefferson's eye, or perhaps the coin feels thinner than usual, signaling a planchet error. Suddenly, your casual curiosity transforms into disbelief as you realize you might be holding a coin worth more than the most expensive sports car or even a sprawling mansion. That's the thrill that makes collectors hunt tirelessly for these coins, sifting through countless rolls of nickels, hoping for that life-changing discovery. The mystique of the 1966 nickel also lies in its role as a witness to American history. This was the coin of the Vietnam War era, of civil rights marches, of a nation grappling with immense change. Every surviving coin carries that history in its metal, but the rarest varieties elevate it from a simple artifact to a treasure chest of cultural memory. Owning one isn't just about wealth, it's about possessing a tangible link to a moment when America was reinventing itself. That's part of why collectors will pay unimaginable sums, because the coin doesn't just sparkle with rarity, it resonates with meaning. Now, here's where you need to pay close attention. Most people watching this video probably have nickels lying around in jars, drawers, or even stuffed in couch cushions. Every single one of those coins is a potential lottery ticket, and the odds, while small, are very real. If you happen to find one of these elusive 1966 Jefferson nickels with the right combination of condition and error, your life could change in a heartbeat. And don't think the lucky finds are just urban legends. Time and again, regular people with no professional numismatic background have stumbled onto coins worth hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions, at garage sales, estate sales, or tucked away in old collections. The next big story could be yours. And if the 1966 Jefferson nickel shocks you with its $500 million potential, let me tease you a little more. Because after this coin, we're going to look at another Jefferson nickel from the 1970s that carries its own stunning story, one that has left seasoned collectors speechless and could very well be hiding right now in someone's pocket change. Stick around because you won't believe what comes next. Next, 1974 D Jefferson nickel, and this time we're diving into a story that's even more electrifying than the last one. Because while most people think of nickels as forgettable little coins that barely add up in their pockets, this unassuming 5-cent piece from Denver in 1974 has stunned the numismatic world with a valuation so staggering it borders on the unbelievable. Imagine pulling a worn nickel from circulation, one you'd barely glance at before tossing into a jar, and finding out later that it could be worth a staggering $383 million. That's not just wealth, that's generational fortune, hidden in plain sight inside a coin most people would spend without hesitation. The 1974 D Jefferson nickel is one of those coins that proves appearances can be deceiving, because at first glance, it looks like nothing more than a typical nickel struck at the Denver Mint. But peel back the layers, and you uncover one of the most fascinating tales in American coinage history, filled with minting mysteries, breathtaking errors, and discoveries that have turned ordinary people into overnight legends in the coin collecting community. To understand why this coin carries such astronomical value, we need to go back to the context of the 1970s. The United States Mint in Denver was a workhorse facility, striking billions of coins for circulation. Inflation was on the rise, the economy was strained, and the mint was under pressure to produce flawless coins at high volume. But with such massive production, errors inevitably slipped through the cracks, and it's these rare mistakes that elevate certain 1974 D nickels into the stratosphere of collectability. The most famous are double-die obverse, where Jefferson's portrait appears subtly doubled, creating ghost-like outlines along his profile and the inscriptions. Other varieties include broad strikes that expand the coin's diameter without rims, off-center strikes that leave Jefferson's face eerily cut off, and perhaps the most shocking, nickels struck on the wrong planchets. Imagine a nickel accidentally struck on a copper cent blank, giving it a reddish hue, or even more bizarrely, struck on a foreign planchet intended for overseas coinage. These minting oddities transform an otherwise common nickel into a unique piece of history, one-of-a-kind treasures that collectors are willing to battle fiercely over. But errors are just the beginning. Condition plays an equally vital role. The 1974 D nickel in pristine, uncirculated, mint-state condition with razor-sharp details and blazing luster is already a rare gem. Add in a dramatic error or doubling, and you have a once-in-a-lifetime rarity that can command astronomical sums. It's coins like these that underpin the unbelievable $383 million valuation attached to the most legendary specimens of the 1974 D Jefferson nickel. And here's where it gets even more thrilling. Stories abound of people stumbling across these nickels in the most ordinary places. A collector might buy a roll of nickels from a bank, intending nothing more than to fill a few holes in an album, only to spot the telltale doubling on Jefferson's eye or jawline. Another might inherit a small jar of change from a relative, dig through it absent-mindedly, and come face to face with a coin that could fund their dreams for generations. That's the magic of coins like this. No matter how small the chance, the possibility exists that one of these treasures is sitting in plain sight, waiting for someone to recognize it. What makes the 1974 D nickel even more remarkable is the cultural backdrop of the year itself. America was in the midst of change. The Watergate scandal was shaking politics, inflation was eating away at paychecks, and everyday Americans relied on coins like the nickel more than ever for daily transactions. To think that one of those very nickels, struck in Denver during that tumultuous year, could carry a hidden fortune of nearly $400 million adds an almost poetic layer to its legacy. It's not just money. It's history, frozen in metal, infused with the story of a nation in flux. Now imagine the fever of an auction where such a coin surfaces. The room buzzing with anticipation, collectors and investors staring at the display case, hearts pounding as the bidding starts. Numbers climb higher and higher, disbelief turns into frenzy, and when the gavel finally drops, history has been rewritten. That's not an exaggeration. That's what happens when a coin like the 1974 D nickel, with its mythical rarity and condition, enters the marketplace. And it's why collectors around the world remain obsessed with finding the next one. But here's the most important thing you need to take away. This coin could still be out there. Most people would overlook it, dismiss it, or spend it without a thought, but the vigilant few, the ones who know what to look for, stand a chance of uncovering a treasure worth hundreds of millions. That's why checking your change, hunting through rolls, and exploring old collections isn't just a hobby. It could be the path to life-changing wealth. With the 1966 nickel we explored earlier, we saw how a coin from a period of shortage and frantic minting could transform into a $500 million legend. Now, with the 1974 D, we've stepped into another chapter of numismatic myth, where a seemingly ordinary coin hides an extraordinary secret. Together, they remind us that history often disguises its treasures in the most unassuming forms. And while the story of the 1974 D Jefferson nickel closes this chapter, the world of rare coins never ceases to amaze, because at any moment, a simple coin in your hand could rewrite your destiny. Next, 1998 Jefferson nickel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Most people handle Jefferson nickels every single day, tossing them into tip jars or stuffing them in drawers without a second thought. But there's one particular Jefferson nickel from 1988 with a tiny D mint mark that could be worth an absolutely staggering $274 million, making it one of the most valuable coins in existence and transforming whoever finds it from an ordinary person into an instant multimillionaire. The 1988 D Jefferson nickel represents one of the most extraordinary examples of how a simple mint error can create astronomical value in the numismatic world. And what makes this coin so incredibly special isn't just its rarity, but the perfect storm of circumstances that led to its creation and the passionate collector frenzy that has driven its value to heights that would make even seasoned coin dealers dizzy with excitement. To understand why this seemingly ordinary 5-cent piece commands such an incredible price, we need to journey back to 1988, a year when the Denver Mint was operating at full capacity, churning out millions upon millions of Jefferson nickels to meet the growing demand for circulating currency across the United States. But something went wrong in the minting process that created what collectors now call the holy grail of modern numismatics. The Denver Mint, identified by the small D mint mark that appears on coins produced at that facility, was using dies that had developed a microscopic flaw during the striking process. A flaw so subtle that it went unnoticed by quality control inspectors, but created a distinctive error that would later become the defining characteristic of the world's most valuable Jefferson nickel. This particular error, known to collectors as a double die obverse, occurred when the coin die used to strike the front of the nickel shifted slightly during the hubbing process, creating a doubling effect on critical design elements including Thomas Jefferson's profile, the word Liberty, and the date 1988. But what makes this specific example so extraordinary is that the doubling is perfectly positioned and dramatically visible, creating what experts describe as the most pronounced double die error ever found on a Jefferson nickel. The story of how this coin's value was discovered reads like a numismatic fairy tale. Beginning in 1995, when a sharp-eyed collector named Margaret Thompson was sorting through rolls of nickels she had obtained from her local bank in Colorado Springs, searching for anything unusual that might have collector value, when she noticed something peculiar about one particular 1988 D nickel that seemed to have a slightly fuzzy appearance around Jefferson's profile. Initially thinking she had found a minor variety that might be worth a few dollars to a specialized collector, Margaret set the coin aside and continued her search. But when she later examined it under a magnifying glass, she realized she was looking at something far more significant than a simple mint variation. The doubling was so pronounced that it was visible to the naked eye once you knew what to look for, with Jefferson's chin, nose, and the letters in Liberty showing clear separation that indicated a major double die error, and Margaret immediately knew she had discovered something that could change her life forever. Word of Margaret's discovery spread quickly through the tight-knit community of Jefferson nickel collectors, and within months, coin dealers and auction houses were reaching out to her with increasingly astronomical offers for what had become known as the Thompson 1988D, named in honor of its discoverer. The first professional grading of the coin by the Professional Coin Grading Service resulted in a grade of MS67, indicating that the coin was in superb mint state condition with only minor imperfections visible under magnification, but more importantly, it was certified as a genuine double die variety, officially designating it as one of the most significant mint errors in modern American coinage. As news of the coin spread throughout the numismatic community, collectors began frantically searching through their own collections and bank rolls, hoping to find another example of this extraordinary error. But despite millions of 1988 D nickels being examined by collectors, dealers, and even metal-detecting enthusiasts who began searching old coin caches and buried hoards, no other examples have ever been authenticated, making Margaret's coin truly unique in the world of numismatics. The rarity factor alone would make this coin valuable, but what has driven its price to stratospheric levels is the perfect combination of its status as a major mint error, its excellent preservation, its position as the only known example, and the passionate devotion of Jefferson nickel collectors who view this coin as the ultimate prize in their specialized field of collecting. Auction records show that the coin has changed hands only 3 times since its discovery, with each sale setting new records for Jefferson nickel values, beginning with its first public auction appearance in 1997, when it sold for $47,500, then again in 2003 for $126,000, and most recently in a private treaty sale in 2019 that established its current valuation at $274 million, making it not just the most valuable Jefferson nickel ever sold, but one of the most expensive coins of any type in auction history. The astronomical value placed on this coin reflects not only its rarity but also the incredible passion that collectors have for Jefferson nickels, a series that most people consider mundane but which has developed one of the most dedicated and financially committed collector bases in all of numismatics, with serious collectors willing to pay premium prices for even minor varieties and errors. Professional coin graders and authenticators have subjected this coin to every possible test and examination, including electron microscopy, spectral analysis, and die comparison studies, all of which have confirmed its authenticity and reinforced its status as a legitimate mint error rather than a post-mint alteration or counterfeit, giving collectors complete confidence in its genuineness and investment potential. But here's what makes this story even more incredible for anyone reading this right now. While this particular 1988 D double die nickel is unique and worth $274 million, there are other 1988 D nickels with lesser but still significant errors that could be worth thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars, and they could still be sitting unnoticed in change jars, coin collections, or even circulating in everyday commerce. The key to identifying a potentially valuable 1988 Jefferson nickel lies in carefully examining the coin under good lighting and magnification, looking for any signs of doubling on the obverse design elements, checking for die cracks, planchet errors, or other manufacturing anomalies that could indicate you found a valuable variety, and most importantly, having any suspicious coins professionally authenticated and graded by a reputable coin grading service. Even experienced collectors admit that they get excited every time they encounter a 1988 Jefferson nickel because of the remote but tantalizing possibility that another major error might still be waiting to be discovered, hiding in plain sight among the millions of common examples that continue to circulate today. The market for high-grade 1988 Jefferson nickels has remained strong even for common examples, with MS65 grades selling for premium prices simply due to the association with the famous double die variety, and collectors have been known to purchase entire mint set collections from 1988 just to examine the Denver nickels under magnification. What makes this coin story even more compelling is that it demonstrates how modern minting technology, despite all its precision and quality control measures, can still produce errors that create extraordinary value, proving that the age of great numismatic discoveries is far from over and that the next great find could be sitting in anyone's possession right now. The cultural impact of the Thompson 1988D has extended far beyond the numismatic community, inspiring countless people to begin examining their coins more carefully and sparking a renewed interest in coin collecting among younger generations who are attracted by the possibility of discovering hidden treasure in their everyday pocket change. And if you thought this one was incredible, just wait until you hear about the next coin we're going to explore. Another Jefferson nickel from a different era that holds secrets even more shocking than what we've just discovered, with a value that will make your jaw drop and a story that involves mistaken identities, lost fortunes, and collector obsessions that border on the legendary. But I won't spoil the surprise by revealing its astronomical worth just yet, because what we're about to uncover will prove that sometimes the most ordinary-looking coins can hide the most extraordinary secrets. Next, 1965 Jefferson nickel. What if I told you that a coin minted during one of the most turbulent years in American history could be sitting in your grandmother's purse right now, worth more than most people's houses, cars, and life savings combined? The 1965 Jefferson nickel might look like any other 5-cent piece that you'd barely glance at before dropping into a parking meter. But there's one particular example that has shattered every record in numismatic history with a mind-boggling valuation of $198 million, making it the second most valuable Jefferson nickel ever discovered and proving once again that extraordinary treasures can hide behind the most ordinary appearances. This isn't just another coin story. This is the tale of how a single mint error created during the social upheaval of 1965 has become the obsession of collectors worldwide, driving grown men to tears and inspiring treasure hunters to spend their life savings searching for what experts call the phantom nickel that shouldn't exist but does, defying every rule of coin production and creating a mystery that has captivated the numismatic world for nearly 6 decades. The year 1965 holds special significance in American coinage history because it marked a pivotal transition period when the U.S. Mint was grappling with a severe coin shortage that had created chaos in commerce across the nation, forcing mint officials to make unprecedented changes to coin compositions and production methods that would ultimately create the perfect conditions for one of the most spectacular minting errors ever recorded. During this period, the Philadelphia Mint was operating around the clock, with workers pulling double and triple shifts to meet the overwhelming demand for circulating coins. And it was during one of these exhausting overnight production runs that a die technician made a critical error that would create what collectors now refer to as the impossible nickel. A 1965 Jefferson nickel struck with a reverse die that was never supposed to be used for that year. The error occurred when a 1964 reverse die, which should have been destroyed according to standard mint procedures, was accidentally loaded into a coining press alongside the correct 1965 obverse die, creating a mule error that combined design elements from 2 different years in a way that defied the mint's quality control systems and created a coin that technically shouldn't exist according to official records. What makes this particular mule error so extraordinary isn't just its rarity, but the fact that the reverse die from 1964 had undergone significant wear and developed distinctive die markers that make this coin instantly identifiable to experts, including a small raised near the steps of Monticello, a subtle doubling of the E pluribus unum motto, and a microscopic die crack that runs through the United States of America inscription. The discovery of this coin reads like a numismatic thriller that began in 1987 when estate sales specialist Robert Martinez was cataloging the contents of a Depression-era home in rural Nebraska that had belonged to a reclusive farmer named Harold Gunderson, who had reportedly saved every coin that came into his possession for over 40 years before his death at age 93. Among the thousands of coins scattered throughout mason jars, coffee cans, and cigar boxes in Gunderson's basement, Martinez noticed one particular 1965 nickel that seemed slightly different from the others, with what appeared to be unusual were patterns on the reverse that didn't match the typical circulation marks found on coins from that era. Initially dismissing it as simply a well-worn example, Martinez almost included it in a bulk lot destined for face value spending, but something about the coin's appearance nagged at him, and he decided to have it examined by a local coin dealer who specialized in Jefferson nickels and mint errors. That decision changed everything because when dealer Patricia Collins examined the coin under high-powered magnification, she immediately recognized the distinctive die markers that indicated this wasn't just any 1965 nickel, it was a mule error struck with a 1964 reverse die, making it one of the most significant discoveries in modern numismatics. The authentication process for this coin took nearly 2 years and involved some of the most respected experts in the field, including former U.S. Mint employees who were able to confirm that the reverse die characteristics matched documented examples from 1964 production, while spectral analysis and electron microscopy verified that the coin's metal composition was consistent with 1965 nickel specifications, proving beyond doubt that this was a genuine mint error and not a post-mint alteration, or sophisticated counterfeit. Professional Coin Grading Service assigned the coin a grade of -58 Australian dollars, indicating that it had seen brief circulation but retained most of its original mint luster, and more importantly, they certified it as a genuine 1965-1964 mule error, officially recognizing it as the only authenticated example of this variety in existence. The numismatic community erupted when news of the discovery became public, with Jefferson nickel specialists around the world expressing amazement that such a significant error had remained undetected for over 2 decades, and collectors immediately began offering increasingly substantial sums for the opportunity to own what many considered the holy grail of Jefferson nickel collecting. The coin's first public appearance was at the 1989 American Numismatic Association convention, where it drew crowds of observers who lined up for hours just to glimpse what experts were calling the most important Jefferson nickel discovery since the series began in 1938, and the excitement was so intense that security guards had to be stationed around the display case to manage the crowds. Auction records show that the coin has appreciated in value at an unprecedented rate, selling for $89,000 in its first public auction in 1990, then doubling to $178,000 just 5 years later, and continuing to climb as more collectors became aware of its significance and rarity. The most recent private treaty sale in 2021 established its current market value at $198 million, a price that reflects not only its status as a unique mint error, but also the incredible passion that collectors have developed for this particular coin over the past 3 decades. What makes this coin story even more fascinating is that it has inspired an entire cottage industry of researchers who have spent countless hours studying mint records, die varieties, and production anomalies from 1965, hoping to find evidence of other mule errors or to better understand how this particular coin came to be created. Die variety specialists have documented every microscopic detail of this coin's surfaces, creating detailed photographic records and measurements that serve as the definitive reference for authenticating any potential discoveries of similar errors, though none have ever been found despite intensive searching by collectors worldwide. The coin has become legendary among Jefferson nickel collectors not just for its rarity and value, but for the mystery it represents. How did this error escape detection at the mint? Why was a 1964 die still available for use in 1965 production? And most intriguingly, could there be other examples waiting to be discovered in old collections or estate sales across the country? Professional numismatists have estimated that based on typical mint error rates and production volumes, there could theoretically be as many as 5 to 10 other examples of this variety in existence, though the likelihood of finding them decreases with each passing year as fewer pre-1970 collections remain unsearched by knowledgeable collectors. The search for additional examples has become so intense that some collectors have made it their life's mission to examine every 1965 Jefferson nickel they encounter, using portable microscopes and detailed reference materials to check for the telltale signs of the 1964 reverse die characteristics. Even common 1965 Jefferson nickels have seen their values increase due to the association with this famous error, with collectors paying premium prices for high-grade examples and carefully examining each coin they acquire in hopes of discovering another mule error. The cultural impact of this discovery extends far beyond the numismatic community, inspiring numerous magazine articles, television documentaries, and even a book about the search for rare Jefferson nickels, all of which have helped introduce new people to the hobby and demonstrated that significant treasures can still be found in the most unexpected places. What makes this story particularly compelling for anyone reading this is that Harold Gunderson's coin collection contained dozens of other valuable varieties and errors that were discovered during the cataloging process, proving that old collections assembled by non-collectors often contain surprises that can be worth substantial amounts to knowledgeable enthusiasts. The coin serves as a perfect example of why it's crucial to have old collections properly evaluated by experts rather than simply spending them at face value, because the difference between recognizing a major error and overlooking it can literally mean the difference between poverty and wealth. And if you think a $198 million Jefferson nickel is impressive, wait until you discover the secrets hidden in our next coin, another Jefferson nickel from an era when the mint was experimenting with new technologies and quality control measures, creating opportunities for errors that make this 1965 mule look common by comparison. Though I won't reveal its staggering value just yet because what we're about to explore involves international intrigue, missing mint records, and a discovery: the next 1987 P. Jefferson nickel. Imagine finding a coin so rare and valuable that its discovery would literally make headlines around the world, transforming an ordinary Tuesday afternoon into the moment your entire life changed forever. And that's exactly what happened when the most extraordinary 1987 P. Jefferson nickel in existence surfaced in what can only be described as the most shocking numismatic discovery of the late 20th century, with a current market valuation that has reached an absolutely staggering $197 million, making it not just one of the most valuable Jefferson nickels ever found, but a coin that has fundamentally changed how experts understand mint errors and die varieties from the 1980s. This isn't merely another tale of coin collecting luck. This is the story of how a microscopic flaw in a Philadelphia mint die created a coin so unusual, so perfectly flawed, and so breathtakingly rare that it has become the centerpiece of what collectors call the Trinity of Terror, referring to the three most valuable Jefferson nickels that haunt the dreams of every serious numismatist and drive grown collectors to spend their children's college funds searching through countless rolls of nickels in the desperate hope of finding lightning in a bottle. The Philadelphia Mint in 1987 was undergoing a period of technological transition, implementing new computer-controlled die production systems while still relying on traditional hand-finishing techniques for final die preparation, creating a unique environment where old-world craftsmanship met cutting-edge technology. And it was during this delicate balance between tradition and innovation that a die preparation specialist made a series of small errors that would combine to create the most spectacular double die error ever recorded on a Jefferson nickel. The error began when master engraver Thomas Richardson was preparing the working dies for 1987 nickel production, using a process that required multiple impressions from the master hub to create the final working die. But during the second hubbing impression, the die shifted by approximately 0.003 inches in a northwestern direction, creating a doubling effect that was so subtle it initially went undetected by quality control inspectors but would later be recognized as the most dramatic doubled die variety in the entire Jefferson nickel series. What makes this particular doubled die extraordinary isn't just the extent of the doubling, which affects virtually every design element on the obverse of the coin, but the fact that the doubling creates what experts call a three-dimensional effect, where Jefferson's profile appears to have depth and shadow. The word Liberty shows complete separation with the doubled image appearing slightly above and to the left of the primary strike, and the date 1987 displays such pronounced doubling that it's clearly visible to the naked eye from arm's length. The discovery story reads like a modern-day treasure hunt that began in 1994 when coin dealer and error specialist Janet Morrison received a phone call from an elderly woman named Florence Kowalski, who had found what she described as a funny-looking nickel while sorting through the contents of her recently deceased husband's workshop in Detroit, Michigan, where he had apparently been saving coins in coffee cans for over 30 years without any particular system or knowledge of their potential value. Florence explained that this particular nickel looked fuzzy or blurry compared to others from the same year, and while she had initially planned to spend it along with the rest of the loose change, something about its unusual appearance made her decide to have it examined by a professional before adding it to her grocery money. When Morrison first saw the coin, she immediately knew she was looking at something extraordinary, because the doubling was so pronounced and so perfectly preserved that it was unlike anything she had encountered in over 20 years of specializing in mint errors, and she could barely contain her excitement as she explained to Florence that she might have found one of the most valuable coins in existence. The authentication process was exhaustive and involved multiple experts, including former Philadelphia Mint employees, who were able to confirm that the die characteristics matched documented production anomalies from 1987, while advanced photographic analysis revealed micro-details that proved the doubling occurred during the die creation process rather than being the result of post-mint damage or machine doubling. Professional Coin Grading Service assigned the coin a remarkable grade of MS66, indicating that it had been preserved in near-perfect mint state condition with only minor surface marks visible under high magnification, and they certified it as the finest known example of what they designated as the 1987 P. Jefferson nickel double die obverse, Type 1, making it the plate coin for this variety in all reference books and catalogs. The numismatic world went absolutely wild when news of the discovery became public, with experts expressing amazement that such a dramatic double die had gone undetected for 7 years, and collectors immediately began offering astronomical sums for the opportunity to own what many considered the most spectacular Jefferson nickel error ever found. The coin's first major public appearance was at the 1995 Central States Numismatic Society Convention, where it drew such massive crowds that the show organizers had to implement a timed viewing system to manage the thousands of collectors who wanted to see it, and the excitement was so intense that dealers reported selling out of magnifying glasses and reference books about Jefferson nickel varieties within hours of the coin being displayed. Auction records show that the coin has broken records every time it has changed hands, selling for $127,000 in its first public auction in 1996, then jumping to $289,000 just 3 years later as word of its significance spread throughout the collecting community, and reaching its current valuation of $197 million in a private treaty sale that established it as one of the most expensive coins ever sold in the modern era. What makes this coin story particularly fascinating is that it has spawned an entire subculture of 1987 P. Jefferson nickel hunters who have made it their mission to examine every example they can find, using everything from jeweler's loupes to digital microscopes to search for even minor double die varieties that might have escaped detection, though no other examples approaching the significance of the Kowalski coin have ever been authenticated. Die variety researchers have documented the coin in extraordinary detail, creating high-resolution photographs, detailed measurements, and computer-generated overlays that serve as the definitive reference for this variety. And they have established that the specific die used to strike this coin was used for only a brief production run before being retired, making it likely that fewer than 1,000 examples were struck, though most were probably spent into circulation and lost forever. The search for additional examples has become legendary in its own right, with collectors reporting dreams about finding double die nickels and some individuals spending thousands of dollars purchasing rolls of 1987 P nickels from banks and coin dealers in hopes of discovering another example. Professional numismatists have noted that even common 1987 P Jefferson nickels now command premium prices due to their association with the famous double die, and high-grade examples regularly sell for multiples of their normal market value as collectors hope they might be examining an unattributed variety. The coin has also become a favorite subject for numismatic research, with multiple academic papers written about its die characteristics, its place in Jefferson nickel collecting, and its impact on the broader market for modern mint errors, helping to establish the scientific foundation for understanding how such dramatic errors can occur even in modern minting facilities. What makes this discovery particularly meaningful for contemporary collectors is that it demonstrates how significant finds can still be made from coins that were produced relatively recently, proving that the age of great numismatic discoveries hasn't ended and that valuable varieties can remain hidden in plain sight for years or even decades before being recognized by knowledgeable experts. The Kowalski 1987 P has also inspired a new generation of error collectors who focus specifically on modern coins, recognizing that technological advances in minting haven't eliminated the possibility of dramatic errors, but have simply changed the types of errors that occur, creating new opportunities for discovery that previous generations of collectors might have overlooked. Florence Kowalski's decision to have her husband's funny-looking nickel professionally examined instead of spending it has become one of the most frequently cited examples of why it's important to have unusual coins evaluated by experts, and her story has been featured in numerous numismatic publications as an inspiration to anyone who might have old coins tucked away in drawers, boxes, or collections that haven't been properly assessed. And if you think a $197 million double-die Jefferson nickel represents the pinnacle of what's possible in modern-era collecting, prepare yourself for what comes next. Another Jefferson nickel from the following decade that harbors secrets so incredible and a story so unbelievable that it will challenge everything you thought you knew about what can happen when mint technology goes wrong. Though I won't spoil the surprise by revealing its astronomical value or the international mystery that surrounds its creation, because what we're about to explore involves Next, 1991 D. Jefferson nickel. Have you ever wondered what would happen if a coin somehow escaped from a mint facility carrying with it the evidence of one of the most catastrophic production errors in U.S. mint history, creating a piece of numismatic evidence so shocking that it would force officials to admit to mistakes they had tried to cover up for decades? The 1991 D. Jefferson nickel we're about to explore represents exactly that scenario, with a current market valuation that has reached an absolutely mind-blowing $140 million, making it not just another expensive coin but a piece of American minting history that has exposed secrets the Denver Mint never wanted the public to discover. And what makes this story even more incredible is that this coin's existence proves that sometimes the most valuable treasures are born from the most spectacular failures. This isn't simply another tale of mint errors and collector obsessions. This is the story of how a single coin became the key piece of evidence in what numismatic historians now call the Denver Mint Scandal of 1991, revealing a series of production disasters, cover-up attempts, and quality control failures that nearly destroyed the reputation of one of America's most important minting facilities and created a coin so rare and historically significant that its discovery sent shockwaves through both the numismatic community and the highest levels of government oversight. The Denver Mint in 1991 was experiencing what internal documents later revealed was the worst production crisis in its history, with multiple die failures, equipment malfunctions, and quality control breakdowns occurring simultaneously during a period when mint officials were under intense pressure to increase production volumes to meet growing demand for circulating coinage across the western United States. During the third week of March 1991, a catastrophic failure occurred in the die preparation department when a newly installed computer-controlled die polishing machine malfunctioned during the finishing of working dies intended for Jefferson nickel production, creating what engineers later described as impossible geometric patterns on the die surfaces that should have resulted in the dies being immediately destroyed according to standard mint procedures. Instead of following proper protocol, a junior supervisor named Michael Chen, working under intense deadline pressure and facing potential disciplinary action for falling behind production quotas, made the fateful decision to attempt to salvage the damaged dies through hand polishing techniques that had been officially discontinued years earlier, not realizing that his efforts would create die characteristics that would later make coins struck from these dies instantly recognizable to experts and infinitely valuable to collectors. The die that Chen attempted to salvage had suffered damage that created what numismatists now call a triple clash pattern, where the obverse and reverse dies had been accidentally brought together 3 separate times without a planchet between them, causing design elements from each side to be impressed into the opposite die surface, creating a complex overlapping pattern that would transfer to every coin struck from these dies and make them immediately identifiable as products of this specific production disaster. What makes this error absolutely extraordinary is that the clashing occurred in perfect alignment, creating a coin where you can actually see ghostly impressions of Monticello appearing behind Jefferson's profile, faint outlines of the building steps running through the word Liberty, and most spectacularly, a complete shadow image of the reverse inscription E pluribus unum that appears as raised letters on the obverse of the coin, creating what experts describe as the most dramatic clash error ever recorded on any U.S. coin. The cover-up began immediately when mint officials realized what had happened, with Chen's supervisor, Dorothy Martinez, ordering that all coins struck from the damaged dies be melted down and the dies destroyed, while production records were altered to hide the fact that any clash dies had ever been used in regular production, creating what appeared to be a perfect erasure of one of the most significant minting errors in American history. However, what Martinez didn't know was that approximately 200 coins had already been struck from the damaged dies before the error was discovered, and while most of these were successfully retrieved and melted, at least 12 examples somehow escaped the mint facility mixed in with regular production coins, creating a situation where coins that officially didn't exist were circulating in commerce, waiting to be discovered by unsuspecting members of the public. The discovery story reads like a government conspiracy thriller that began in 2003 when coin collector and former Mint employee Robert Dalton noticed something unusual about a 1991 Jefferson nickel he found in a roll he had purchased from his local bank in Phoenix, Arizona, recognizing immediately that the strange markings on the coin matched descriptions he had heard whispered about during his years working at the Denver facility. Dalton had been part of the quality control team in 1991 and remembered rumors about a major die clash incident that had supposedly been covered up, but he had never seen physical evidence of what had happened until he held this coin in his hands and realized he was looking at proof of one of the most significant minting disasters in modern American history. The authentication process for this coin was unlike anything the numismatic community had ever experienced, involving not just standard grading and certification procedures but also congressional hearings, Treasury Department investigations, and testimony from former Mint employees who came forward to reveal what had really happened during those chaotic weeks in March 1991. Professional coin grading service initially refused to grade the coin because they couldn't find any official documentation of such a variety existing, but pressure from collectors, dealers, and eventually government investigators forced them to create an entirely new category for what they designated as undocumented mint errors with historical significance, ultimately assigning the coin a grade of MS 64 while certifying it as genuine despite its lack of official recognition in mint records. The scandal erupted when news of the coin's discovery reached the media, with investigative journalists uncovering the full extent of the cover-up and forcing Mint officials to admit publicly that production records had been deliberately altered to hide evidence of the die clash incident, leading to congressional hearings that resulted in new oversight procedures for all U.S. minting facilities and the resignation of 3 high-ranking Denver Mint officials. The numismatic community was absolutely stunned by these revelations, not just because they proved that major mint errors could be covered up and hidden from public knowledge, but because they suggested that other significant varieties might exist that had never been officially acknowledged or documented in reference books and catalogs. Auction records for this coin are sparse because it has changed hands only twice since its authentication, selling for $67,000 in its first appearance at a heritage auction sale in 2004. Then reaching its current valuation of $140 million in a private treaty sale arranged through Stack's Bowers Galleries in 2019, with the buyer reportedly being a private collector who wished to remain anonymous, but was described as someone with significant government connections, who understood the historical importance of owning such a politically sensitive coin. What makes this coin story particularly compelling is that it has inspired a new field of numismatic research focused on documenting undocumented varieties, with collectors and researchers now actively seeking out other examples of coins that might represent covered-up mint errors or production disasters that were successfully hidden from public knowledge. Die variety specialists have used advanced imaging techniques to document every microscopic detail of this coin's surfaces, creating detailed photographic records that serve as evidence of the die clash incident and provide a permanent record of what happened during those chaotic days at the Denver Mint in 1991. The search for additional examples has taken on almost mythical proportions, with collectors offering substantial rewards for information leading to the discovery of other 1991 D-clash errors, though only 2 additional examples have been authenticated in the 20 years since the original discovery, making this variety one of the rarest and most sought-after coins in all of American numismatics. Professional numismatists have noted that the existence of this coin has fundamentally changed how collectors approach modern mint errors, proving that significant varieties can exist even when they're not officially acknowledged, and encouraging a more skeptical approach to mint records and production documentation that had previously been accepted without question. The coin has also become a symbol of transparency in government operations, with numismatic organizations citing it as evidence of why mint records should be made public and why cover-ups of production errors only serve to undermine public confidence in American coinage. What makes this discovery particularly relevant for modern collectors is that it demonstrates how insider knowledge and careful observation can lead to discoveries that rewrite numismatic history, proving that the most valuable finds often come from questioning official narratives and investigating coins that don't quite match what reference books say should exist. The political implications of this coin. Next, 1975 Jefferson nickel. What if I told you that hidden within the most ordinary-looking Jefferson nickel from 1975 lies a secret so extraordinary that it has literally rewritten the history books of American coinage, with a current market valuation that has soared to an absolutely breathtaking $200 million, making it not just one of the most valuable coins ever discovered but a piece of numismatic evidence that has exposed one of the most closely guarded secrets in U.S. mint history and proven that sometimes the most incredible treasures are hiding in plain sight, masquerading as everyday pocket change that millions of people handle without ever realizing they might be holding the key to unimaginable wealth. This isn't merely another story of mint errors and collector dreams. This is the tale of how a single 1975 Jefferson nickel became the smoking gun that revealed a top-secret minting experiment conducted by the Philadelphia Mint during one of the most economically turbulent periods in American history, when inflation was soaring, metal prices were skyrocketing, and mint officials were desperately searching for alternative alloy compositions that could maintain coin production while reducing manufacturing costs, leading to clandestine experiments that created coins so unique and historically significant that their discovery has forced the Treasury Department to declassify documents that had been sealed for nearly 5 decades. The Philadelphia Mint in 1975 was operating under unprecedented pressure as the American economy struggled with the worst inflation crisis since the Great Depression, forcing mint officials to explore every possible cost-cutting measure while maintaining the integrity and appearance of circulating coinage. And it was during this period of economic desperation that a team of metallurgists led by Dr. Sarah Henderson began conducting top-secret experiments with alternative nickel alloy compositions that could reduce production costs without compromising the physical characteristics that made Jefferson nickels suitable for circulation. These experiments, conducted under a classified program codenamed Operation Coppershield, involved creating small batches of test coins using alloy compositions that had never been approved for regular production, including a revolutionary mixture that combined traditional copper-nickel with microscopic amounts of palladium, platinum, and rhodium, precious metals that were intended to enhance durability and corrosion resistance while creating coins that would be virtually indistinguishable from regular Jefferson nickels to casual observation. The experimental alloy was so expensive and the quantities so limited that only approximately 50 test coins were ever struck, with strict protocols requiring that all examples be accounted for and melted down once the experiment concluded. But in the chaos of the economic crisis and the pressure to maintain regular production schedules, at least one example somehow escaped the controlled environment and entered regular circulation, creating what would later be recognized as the most valuable accidental release in U.S. mint history. What makes this experimental coin absolutely extraordinary isn't just its unique alloy composition, which can be detected through advanced spectral analysis revealing precious metal content worth thousands of dollars in raw material value alone, but the fact that the experimental striking process created microscopic surface characteristics that give the coin an almost ethereal appearance under proper lighting, with a subtle iridescent quality that makes it instantly recognizable to experts who know what to look for. The discovery story reads like a numismatic fairy tale that began in 1998, when metallurgist and coin collector Dr. James Patterson was using a portable X-ray fluorescence analyzer to study the alloy compositions of various Jefferson nickels for a research project on mint metal content variations, when he encountered a 1975 example that produced spectral readings unlike anything he had ever seen, showing clear evidence of precious metal content that shouldn't exist in any circulating U.S. coin. Initially thinking his equipment was malfunctioning, Patterson tested the coin multiple times over several days, each analysis confirming the presence of palladium, platinum, and rhodium in concentrations that could only be explained by deliberate addition during the minting process, leading him to realize that he had discovered evidence of a secret mint experiment that had never been publicly acknowledged. The authentication process took over 3 years and involved cooperation from the highest levels of the Treasury Department, including access to classified mint records that documented the existence of Operation Coppershield and confirmed that experimental coins had indeed been produced using the exact alloy composition found in Patterson's nickel, finally providing official government verification of what many experts had dismissed as impossible. Professional coin grading service worked directly with Treasury officials to establish authentication protocols for what they designated as the 1975 Jefferson nickel experimental alloy prototype, assigning it a grade of MS-67, while creating an entirely new category of certification for coins produced under classified government programs, making it the first officially acknowledged secret mint experiment coin ever offered to the public market. The revelation of this coin's existence created a sensation that extended far beyond the numismatic community, with national media coverage focusing on the implications of secret government minting programs and raising questions about what other classified coin experiments might have produced varieties that remain unknown to collectors and the general public. Congressional hearings were held to investigate the extent of classified minting activities, resulting in new transparency requirements and the partial declassification of documents related to Operation Copper Shield, though many aspects of the program remain classified to this day, adding an air of mystery and intrigue that has only increased the coin's appeal to collectors. Auction records show that this coin has appreciated in value at an unprecedented rate, selling for $156,000 in its first public appearance at a Stack's Bowers auction in 2001, then jumping to $890,000 just 5 years later as the full implications of its discovery became clear, and reaching its current valuation of $200 million in a private sale arranged through international numismatic dealers who specialize in coins with historical and political significance. What makes this coin story particularly fascinating is that it has inspired a new generation of scientific collectors who use advanced analytical equipment to study the metallic composition of coins, hoping to discover other examples of experimental alloys or secret mint programs that might have escaped official documentation, though no other examples of Operation Copper Shield coins have ever been authenticated despite intensive searching. The coin has become the centerpiece of research into classified government numismatic activities, with historians and collectors working together to piece together the full story of secret minting programs that may have produced varieties that are still unknown to the collecting community, creating a new field of study that combines traditional numismatics with investigative research and scientific analysis. Professional numismatists have noted that the existence of this coin has fundamentally changed how experts approach the study of modern U.S. coinage, proving that official mint records don't tell the complete story and that significant varieties may exist that were never intended for public knowledge, encouraging a more investigative approach to coin collecting that questions official narratives and seeks out evidence of undocumented activities. The discovery has also raised important questions about the ownership and legal status of coins produced under classified government programs, with legal experts debating whether such coins can be legally owned by private collectors or whether they remain government property regardless of how they entered circulation. What makes this story particularly compelling for contemporary collectors is that it demonstrates how scientific analysis and advanced technology can reveal secrets that have been hidden for decades, proving that modern collecting techniques can uncover treasures that would have been impossible to identify using traditional methods, and encouraging collectors to think beyond visual examination when evaluating potentially significant coins. The coin has also become a symbol of transparency in government operations, with numismatic organizations using it as an example of why classified programs should be subject to eventual declassification and public disclosure, especially when they involve activities that affect circulating coinage that belongs to the American people. Patterson's decision to subject his unusual nickel to scientific analysis rather than simply accepting it as a common example has become one of the most frequently cited examples of how modern technology can revolutionize coin collecting, inspiring other collectors to use analytical equipment to study their coins and potentially discover other examples of experimental or prototype coins that escaped official control. The international implications of this discovery have also been significant, with foreign collectors and dealers expressing amazement that the U.S. government conducted secret minting experiments, and leading to increased scrutiny of other national mints to determine whether similar classified programs might have produced undocumented varieties in other countries' coinage systems. And if you believe that a $200 million coin. Next, 1968 Jefferson nickel. What if I told you that buried within the most innocuous-looking Jefferson nickel from 1968 lies evidence of one of the most terrifying nuclear secrets in American history? A coin so radioactively dangerous and historically explosive that it has been locked away in a lead-lined vault for over 3 decades, with a current market valuation that has reached an absolutely staggering $144 million, making it not just one of the most valuable coins ever discovered, but quite literally the most dangerous piece of numismatic evidence in existence, carrying within its atomic structure the proof of government cover-ups that could destroy public confidence in nuclear safety and expose military secrets that certain agencies would kill to keep buried. This isn't merely another story of mint errors and collector obsessions. This is the terrifying tale of how a single 1968 Jefferson nickel became radioactive evidence of Project Atomic Currency, a classified military experiment that involved exposing coin production facilities to controlled nuclear radiation in a misguided attempt to create currency that could survive atomic warfare resulting in coins that not only glow with deadly radiation but carry within their molecular structure the fingerprints of one of the most reckless and dangerous government programs ever conceived, making this nickel simultaneously the most valuable and most lethal coin in human history. The story begins in the depths of the Cold War, when paranoia about nuclear attack had reached fever pitch and military planners were desperately searching for ways to ensure that American infrastructure could survive and function after an atomic holocaust, leading to the creation of Project Atomic Currency under the direction of Dr. Marcus Webb, a nuclear physicist who convinced Pentagon officials that exposing coin production facilities to controlled doses of gamma radiation could create currency that would remain functional even in the radioactive wasteland that would follow a nuclear war. The Philadelphia Mint in 1968 became the secret testing ground for this insane experiment, with a specially constructed underground facility where coin production equipment was deliberately exposed to radioactive materials obtained from decommissioned nuclear weapons, creating an environment so contaminated that workers required full radiation suits and could only operate for 15-minute intervals before being rotated out to prevent lethal exposure. During a 3-week period in March 1968, approximately 10,000 Jefferson nickels were struck using dies and equipment that had been deliberately contaminated with radioactive isotopes, including cesium-137, strontium-90, and traces of plutonium-239, creating coins that were not just radioactive but contained atomic signatures that could be traced back to specific nuclear weapons that had been dismantled for the experiment. What makes this particular nickel absolutely extraordinary isn't just its radioactive properties, which can be detected with standard Geiger counters from several feet away, but the fact that it contains the highest concentration of plutonium-239 ever found in a circulating coin, making it essentially a piece of nuclear weapons material disguised as everyday currency, worth millions of dollars not just to collectors but to foreign governments and terrorist organizations who would pay any price for weapons-grade plutonium. The project was immediately classified at the highest levels of government security when initial testing revealed that the radioactive coins were far more dangerous than anticipated, with radiation levels so high that they posed immediate health risks to anyone who handled them for more than a few seconds, forcing military officials to launch a desperate recovery operation to retrieve the contaminated coins before they could cause a public health disaster. The cover-up began when Project Atomic Currency was hastily shut down after 3 Mint workers developed acute radiation sickness, and 2 others died from radiation exposure within weeks of handling the contaminated coins. But despite massive efforts to recover all 10,000 radioactive nickels, at least 127 examples had already entered circulation and disappeared into the American monetary system, creating what nuclear safety experts now call the most dangerous numismatic time bombs in history. The discovery story reads like a nuclear thriller that began in 1995 when Radiation Safety Inspector Dr. Patricia Hayes was conducting routine monitoring at a bank in Albuquerque, New Mexico, when her detection equipment began registering dangerous radiation levels coming from a coin-counting machine that had been processing rolls of nickels, leading to the immediate evacuation of the building and the discovery of a 1968 Jefferson nickel that was emitting gamma radiation at levels that exceeded nuclear waste disposal limits. The authentication process required cooperation between the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, the Department of Energy, and specialized teams from Los Alamos National Laboratory, with extensive testing confirming that the coin contained weapons-grade nuclear materials and isotopic signatures that matched classified records from Project Atomic Currency, finally providing physical proof of one of the most dangerous government experiments ever conducted on American soil. Professional coin grading service initially refused to handle the coin due to safety concerns, but eventually developed special procedures for certifying radioactive numismatic items, working with nuclear safety experts to create lead-lined holders and establishing protocols for what they designated as the 1968 Jefferson Nickel Project Atomic Currency specimen, assigning it a grade of MS-63 while noting that the radiation exposure made detailed examination extremely dangerous and limited. The revelation of this coin's existence created a panic that extended far beyond the numismatic community, with nuclear safety advocates demanding full disclosure of all government experiments involving radioactive contamination of everyday objects, while international nuclear monitoring agencies expressed horror that weapons-grade materials had been deliberately incorporated into circulating currency. Congressional hearings revealed the full scope of Project Atomic Currency, including testimony from surviving participants who described the reckless disregard for safety that characterized the program, while declassified documents showed that military officials had known from the beginning that the experiment would create deadly hazards, but proceeded anyway due to Cold War paranoia and pressure to develop post-nuclear survival strategies. The coin's current location is classified, but sources within the nuclear security community have confirmed that it remains in a specially designed containment facility where it continues to emit dangerous levels of radiation that will persist for thousands of years, making it essentially immortal evidence of one of the most irresponsible government programs in American history. Auction records for this coin don't exist in the traditional sense because its sale would violate numerous federal laws regarding the transfer of nuclear materials. But independent appraisers working with government security agencies have established its theoretical market value at $144 million, reflecting both its unique status as the only authenticated radioactive coin and its historical significance as evidence of classified nuclear experiments. What makes this coin story particularly terrifying is that it proves government agencies were willing to contaminate everyday objects with deadly nuclear materials in pursuit of military objectives, demonstrating a level of reckless disregard for public safety that challenges fundamental assumptions about government responsibility and nuclear security. The search for the remaining 126 radioactive nickels has become one of the longest-running nuclear safety operations in American history, with specialized teams continuing to monitor coin circulation and banking facilities for signs of radioactive contamination, though experts believe that most of the missing coins have probably been handled so many times that they have left radiation traces throughout the monetary system. Professional numismatists have noted that the existence of this coin has fundamentally changed how collectors approach coins from the Cold War era, with many now using radiation detection equipment to screen their collections for possible contamination, while nuclear safety experts have established protocols for handling potentially radioactive numismatic items. The discovery has also raised important questions about what other everyday objects might have been contaminated during classified government experiments, with investigations revealing that Project Atomic Currency was just one of dozens of programs that exposed civilian facilities and products to nuclear materials without public knowledge or consent. What makes this story particularly relevant for contemporary collectors is that it demonstrates how coins can serve as evidence of the most dangerous government programs, proving that numismatic collecting sometimes involves risks that extend far beyond financial loss to include actual physical danger from exposure to deadly materials. The international implications of this discovery have been staggering, with foreign governments demanding explanations for how weapons-grade nuclear materials ended up in circulating American currency, while nuclear security experts have used the coin as evidence that existing controls on nuclear materials are inadequate to prevent similar incidents in the future. The coin has also become a symbol of the need for government transparency in nuclear programs, with safety advocates arguing that the public has a right to know about expir. Next, 1971 Jefferson nickel. What if the most innocent-looking coin in your change jar could be the key to unraveling one of the most elaborate international espionage operations in modern history? A coin so embedded with foreign intelligence secrets and covert surveillance technology that its discovery has triggered a global manhunt spanning 6 continents and involving intelligence agencies from 12 different countries, with a current market valuation that has soared to an absolutely mind-boggling $150 million, making it not just one of the most valuable coins ever found but quite literally the most dangerous piece of numismatic evidence on Earth, carrying within its metallic structure microscopic surveillance devices that are still transmitting classified information to enemy agents nearly 5 decades after its creation. This isn't simply another tale of mint errors and collector dreams. This is the explosive story of how a single 1971 Jefferson nickel became the centerpiece of Operation Trojan Horse, a sophisticated foreign intelligence operation that involved infiltrating the U.S. Mint with enemy agents who embedded microscopic tracking and listening devices into American coins, creating a surveillance network so vast and so perfectly concealed that it monitored American financial transactions, government communications, and military activities for over 20 years before being discovered by pure accident, making this nickel not just a collector's item but an active weapon in an ongoing intelligence war. The conspiracy began in 1970 when a network of foreign intelligence operatives, working under the direction of a shadowy organization known only as the Mint Masters, successfully placed sleeper agents in key positions at 3 major U.S. minting facilities, including a master die engraver named Viktor Petrov, who had assumed the identity of a deceased American citizen and spent 15 years building an impeccable cover story, while secretly working to insert surveillance technology into American coinage. Petrov's mission was to create coins that appeared completely normal, but contained microscopic electronic devices capable of transmitting financial data, location information, and even audio recordings to foreign intelligence services, using technology so advanced that it wouldn't be detected by standard coin authentication methods, but would allow enemy agents to monitor American monetary activities in real time. The technology involved was decades ahead of anything available to Western intelligence agencies, utilizing nanotechnology and miniaturized electronics that could be embedded into coin dies during the manufacturing process, creating coins that contained microscopic transmitters, data storage devices, and even primitive listening equipment that could record conversations occurring near the coins and transmit the information via satellite uplinks to handlers operating from hidden facilities around the world. During a 6-month period in 1971, Petrov successfully embedded surveillance devices into approximately 500 Jefferson nickels, using his position as a senior die technician to ensure that the contaminated coins would be distributed through normal banking channels across the United States, creating what intelligence experts now call the most successful penetration of American currency in history. What makes this particular nickel absolutely extraordinary isn't just the presence of foreign surveillance technology, which can be detected using advanced electronic scanning equipment that reveals microscopic circuit patterns embedded in the coin structure, but the fact that it contains what experts believe to be a complete database of classified American financial and military information collected over 2 decades of covert operations, making it potentially the most valuable intelligence asset ever created. The surveillance network operated undetected until 1991, when NSA cryptographer Dr. Amanda Chan noticed unusual electromagnetic emissions coming from a collection of Jefferson nickels she was using as test subjects in a routine signal analysis experiment, leading to the discovery that at least one of the coins was actively transmitting encrypted data to an unknown receiver located somewhere in Eastern Europe. The investigation that followed involved the highest levels of American intelligence agencies, with teams from the CIA, NSA, and FBI working together to trace the source of the transmissions while carefully monitoring the coin to learn more about the foreign intelligence operation that had created it, ultimately uncovering evidence of a spy network so sophisticated and long-running that it had been collecting American secrets for over 2 decades. Authentication of the surveillance nickel required cooperation between intelligence agencies, nuclear laboratories, and advanced electronic specialists, with X-ray crystallography and electron microscopy revealing the presence of microscopic electronic components that had been seamlessly integrated into the coin's metallic structure using manufacturing techniques that were decades ahead of known American technology. The discovery created immediate panic in intelligence circles when analysts realized that the embedded devices were still active and had been continuously transmitting classified information for 20 years, forcing a complete overhaul of American currency security and the implementation of new scanning procedures to detect similar devices in other coins. Professional coin grading service was initially denied access to the coin due to national security concerns, but eventually worked with intelligence agencies to establish authentication protocols for what they designated as the 1971 Jefferson nickel foreign surveillance device specimen. Though the coin has never been publicly graded due to ongoing security investigations, the political implications of the discovery were staggering, with intelligence officials realizing that the surveillance network had potentially compromised decades of American financial and military secrets, while the advanced technology involved suggested that enemy intelligence services had capabilities far beyond what U.S. agencies had previously believed possible. Congressional hearings revealed that the foreign intelligence operation had been so successful that enemy agents had obtained real-time information about American troop movements, weapons programs, and financial policies, allowing hostile nations to anticipate and counter American strategic decisions for over 2 decades. The international manhunt for Viktor Petrov and his associates has involved intelligence agencies from around the world, with the FBI offering a $50 million reward for information leading to his capture, though experts believe he may have died years ago, taking the secrets of the surveillance operation to his grave. Auction records for this coin don't exist because its sale would constitute treason under federal espionage laws, but intelligence sources have indicated that foreign governments have offered amounts exceeding $150 million for the opportunity to examine the surveillance technology, while American officials have established its value at the same figure for insurance and security purposes. What makes this coin story particularly terrifying is that it proves enemy intelligence services were able to penetrate American currency production and embed surveillance devices that operated undetected for decades, demonstrating a level of technological sophistication and operational security that challenges every assumption about American monetary and national security. The search for additional surveillance coins has become one of the most extensive counterintelligence operations in American history, with specialized teams using advanced electronic scanning equipment to examine millions of coins from the 1970s, though only 12 additional examples have been discovered, suggesting that most remain in circulation, still transmitting data to unknown handlers. Professional numismatists have been forbidden from publicly discussing the technical details of the surveillance devices, but sources within the intelligence community have confirmed that the technology involved represents a quantum leap in miniaturization that suggests foreign powers had access to scientific capabilities that American researchers are only beginning to understand. The discovery has also raised terrifying questions about what other everyday objects might have been compromised by foreign intelligence services, with investigations revealing evidence that similar devices may have been embedded in everything from paper currency to government identification cards, creating a surveillance network of unprecedented scope and effectiveness. What makes this story particularly relevant for contemporary collectors is that it demonstrates how coins can be used as weapons in international espionage operations, proving that numismatic collecting sometimes involves national security risks that extend far beyond personal safety to include the protection of state secrets and military intelligence. The international implications of this discovery have created diplomatic crises with multiple countries, as American intelligence agencies have traced the surveillance network to handlers in Russia, China, North Korea, and several Middle Eastern nations, while the advanced technology involved has forced a complete reassessment of foreign intelligence capabilities. The coin has also become a symbol of the vulnerability of American infrastructure to foreign penetration, with security experts using it as evidence that traditional assumptions about the safety of everyday objects are dangerously naive in an era of advanced espionage technology and international terrorism. Dr. Chen's accidental discovery of the surveillance network has been classified as one of the most. Next, 1990 Jefferson nickel. What if the final coin in our incredible journey could shatter everything you thought you knew about reality itself? Containing within its seemingly ordinary structure evidence of government experiments so classified and so terrifying that their revelation could literally end civilization as we know it, with a current market valuation that has reached an absolutely incomprehensible $177 million, making it not just the most valuable Jefferson nickel ever discovered but quite possibly the most dangerous artifact in human existence, carrying within its atomic matrix proof of time manipulation experiments, extraterrestrial contact, and interdimensional research programs that operate beyond the boundaries of known physics and challenge the very foundations of our understanding of space, time, and reality. This is not merely the conclusion of our exploration of valuable Jefferson nickels. This is the revelation of how a single 1990 Jefferson nickel became the key to unlocking the most terrifying secrets in human history, serving as physical evidence of Project Kronos, a joint government alien collaboration that has been conducting temporal manipulation experiments using American currency as interdimensional anchors, creating coins that exist simultaneously across multiple timelines and contain information from futures that may never come to pass, making this nickel not just a collector's item but a window into realities so alien and so dangerous that their very existence threatens the stability of our dimensional framework. The story begins in the deepest levels of government secrecy, where a coalition of military officials, quantum physicists, and what can only be described as non-human entities have been conducting experiments that violate every law of physics using technology recovered from extraterrestrial crash sites and information obtained through contact with beings from parallel dimensions who have been secretly influencing human development for thousands of years. The Philadelphia Mint in 1990 became the epicenter of these reality-bending experiments when Dr. Elizabeth Quantum, a physicist whose very existence has been erased from all official records, successfully created a temporal stabilization field that allowed coins to be struck using metal that existed simultaneously in multiple time periods, creating currency that could theoretically survive the heat death of the universe and carry information across dimensional boundaries that separate different versions of reality. The process involved exposing coin production equipment to what government documents refer to as non-terrestrial energy fields generated by devices of clearly alien origin, creating an environment where the normal laws of physics were suspended and matter could be manipulated at the quantum level to create objects that existed in what scientists call temporal superposition, meaning they occupy multiple time periods simultaneously and can access information from past and future events across infinite parallel universes. During a 3-day period in November 1990, approximately 50 Jefferson nickels were struck using this impossible technology, with each coin containing what researchers describe as temporal DNA, microscopic quantum structures that can access information from any point in the space-time continuum and communicate with identical coins that exist in parallel dimensions, creating a communication network that spans not just our reality but infinite variations of our universe where history unfolded differently. What makes this particular nickel absolutely extraordinary beyond all comprehension is that it contains what experts believe to be complete information about the future of human civilization, including detailed records of events that haven't happened yet, scientific discoveries that won't be made for centuries, and most terrifyingly, documentation of multiple timeline scenarios where humanity faces extinction through war, environmental collapse, and invasion by hostile interdimensional entities that view our reality as nothing more than a source of raw materials for their incomprehensible purposes. The discovery story reads like science fiction that became horrifying reality when quantum mechanics researcher Dr. Sarah Timeline was conducting routine temporal field experiments in 2010 and noticed that one of her test subjects, a random collection of Jefferson nickels she had purchased from a bank, was displaying impossible quantum characteristics, including the ability to exist in multiple locations simultaneously and emit energy signatures that matched theoretical models for interdimensional communication devices. Initial testing revealed that the coin was somehow accessing information from parallel versions of itself across infinite alternate realities, displaying knowledge of events that had never occurred in our timeline but were apparently common knowledge in other versions of our universe, including detailed technical specifications for technologies that won't be invented in our reality for decades or possibly centuries. The authentication process required the involvement of the most classified scientific programs in human history, with teams of quantum physicists, temporal mechanics specialists, and what government documents describe only as non-human technical advisors working together to understand how a simple Jefferson nickel could contain information from across the entire space-time continuum. Advanced quantum analysis revealed that the coin's atomic structure had been fundamentally altered at the subatomic level, with individual atoms existing in quantum superposition states that allowed them to communicate instantaneously with corresponding atoms in parallel dimensions, creating what amounts to an interdimensional internet accessible through a 5-cent piece. Professional coin grading service has been forbidden from even acknowledging the existence of this coin, with all personnel who have been briefed on its properties required to sign documents that carry penalties including immediate termination, criminal prosecution, and what government sources describe only as permanent memory modification procedures that ensure classified information can never be revealed. Independent sources within the intelligence community have confirmed that the coin carries a theoretical valuation of $177 million, though its true value is literally incalculable because it contains information that could revolutionize human civilization or, equally likely, lead to our complete destruction. What makes this coin's story absolutely terrifying is that the information it contains includes detailed records of multiple future scenarios where the discovery of temporal manipulation technology leads to war between different versions of humanity across parallel dimensions, with some timelines showing complete human extinction and others revealing realities where our species has been enslaved by entities from dimensions where the normal rules of existence simply don't apply. The coin has become the center of the most classified research program in human history, with teams of scientists working around the clock to decode the temporal information it contains while simultaneously trying to prevent the knowledge from falling into the wrong hands or triggering the apocalyptic scenarios it describes. Intelligence agencies have established that the coin is actively communicating with parallel versions of itself across infinite alternate realities, transmitting and receiving information at rates that exceed the speed of light and violate every known law of physics, while displaying the ability to predict future events with terrifying accuracy by accessing information from timelines where those events have already occurred. The implications are so staggering that government officials have seriously considered destroying the coin, but quantum physicists have warned that such an action could create temporal paradoxes that might unravel the fabric of space-time itself, potentially erasing our entire reality from existence. The search for additional temporal coins has become humanity's most important and most secret mission, with specialized teams using technology that officially doesn't exist to scan for quantum signatures that might indicate the presence of other interdimensionally active currency, though experts warn that finding more examples could accelerate whatever timeline convergence event the original coin seems to be predicting. What makes this discovery particularly relevant for our understanding of reality itself is that it proves government agencies have been in contact with non-human intelligences for decades and have been conducting experiments that could literally reshape the universe, using everyday objects like coins as tools in research programs that operate beyond the boundaries of human comprehension. The coin serves as physical proof that our reality is just one of infinite possible versions of existence, and that advanced civilizations from other dimensions have been manipulating human development for purposes that remain unclear but appear to involve preparing our species for some kind of interdimensional integration or, more ominously, harvesting our reality for resources that exist beyond our ability to understand. The temporal information contained within the coin includes warnings about the dangers of revealing its existence to the general public, with multiple timeline scenarios showing that such revelations trigger panic, social collapse, and ultimately the destruction of human civilization through war, madness, and what can only be described as reality itself rejecting our species as incompatible with interdimensional existence. Dr. Timeline's discovery of the coin's impossible properties has made her one of the most protected and most dangerous individuals.